Shabbat Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rakar Kodash, Salaki. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us his truth. Shabbat Shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word in truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. To the Aquat that are listening and learning, being a pillar of rest. To the 144,001 third, the hopeful elect of Israel. I'm the brother Yahshua. I'm back with the WW3 Daily Update. Shabbat Shalom and salutations to you as well. I just wanted to give an example of a retreat, right? A hasty retreat. Okay, so this is 2nd Esdras 15 and 32. Right? Then these shall be troubled. So how about the Americans? Or the Western forces, and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. Right? Right here we have the dragons of Arabia, right? 2nd Ezra 15 and 31. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them, then these shall be trouble. These are talking about who? The Assyrians. Right? Then these, see, and waste a portion of the land of the Syrians. Then these, right, Assyrians, Americans, shall be troubled and keep their silence through their power, and shall beat a hasty retreat. And why did I go into that? Because withdrawal, retreat, flee. Okay. He who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. Let's beat a hasty retreat up out here. Battlefield Earth. Ukrainians prepare withdrawal. It's over. All right. And this is 3 hours ago. Military and Foreign Affairs Network. The voice of reason. Let's let him give the update. Take it away, my dude.
Read Foreign Affairs Network. I am
Slovakia. Start from the top.
Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. Now, before I start, I don't know if anyone has had the opportunity to watch some of the recent congressional testimony of the leadership functionaries of institutions of quote-unquote higher learning, I would say higher indoctrination, from Penn, Harvard, MIT. Now, very interesting that what transpired in that testimony. And those institutions have walked away with massive amounts of egg on their face, so to speak. But I got to tell you, it's even worse than that in many schools, than what you just heard. So, for instance, you could hear congressional leaders asking those institutional leaders in regards to saying genocide to Jews, death to Jews, and the perception is that is okay on campus. Well, perception is reality. It is okay. What is interesting is that if you're a student, say at Harvard, and you go to the middle of Harvard Square and you declare...
Slovakia about the subject matter switching to the war and the colleges, but apparently it's pertinent to the war itself, so we'll let it go.
That transvestite men are not women. Transvestites are not women. You will get in more problems, more trouble. You risk getting removed from school than if you were to go to the middle of that same square and yell, "Death to Jews." Perfectly acceptable. Very interesting. Very interesting. And it just gets worse from there. The school systems here in the United States are going to lead to the destruction of the United States. If the schools are not purged, it is going to destroy the United States. This is going to change the United States in a way that you cannot imagine. And this will occur 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Ain't no 10, 20, 30 years from now. But anyway, there is a war going on in the colleges, what they're teaching, what they're turning out, what they're sending out into the workforce. Yeah, it's pretty obvious at this point.
If you think what is happening right now is extreme, just wait. So I won't get too much on that, but again, check out the testimony. It is absolutely insane. The questions that were asked and the inability of those institutional leaders to answer those questions in a reasonable manner. So back to the ongoing conflict that is taking place. Not a lot to report in terms of territorial changes. The Russians continue to strike and use air power, long-range artillery against the Ukrainian front lines. More importantly, I would say the biggest issue right now that we could see occur is the abandoning of the eastern bank of the Dnieper River by Ukrainian forces. There are Ukrainian forces. Let's go over to the military land map so you can see kind of the force construct that is alleged by Ukrainian forces in these areas. So obviously, here in Krinky, at least military land projects that there is a battalion-sized element of the 137th Marine Battalion of the 35th Marine Brigade operating in Krinky. And then also you have a hodgepodge of other naval infantry and marine units on this eastern bank of the Dnieper River. Now remember, please understand that these areas are swampy marshlands. The conditions of Ukrainian forces that are operating in these areas are appalling. As we've reported before, approximately 50% of Ukrainian forces that are operating in this area are walking wounded in terms of having frostbite, other issues because they don't have access to the ability to warm themselves. They are constantly in very cold conditions, and the Russians are very much focused on boats and personnel that are crossing back to Ukraine as opposed to coming from Ukraine to the eastern bank. And now we're hearing that indeed Ukrainian forces are now discussing the prospects of, in fact, abandoning the eastern bank of the Dnieper River. And again, it really doesn't do the Ukrainian positional war any good to maintain forces in this area, much less the high-quality Ukrainian forces that were deployed to take some of these areas. The prospects of Ukrainian forces launching a offensive operation to push out of this marshland is very much unlikely and is not going to occur. So again, it is being reported now that, at least what we are hearing, is that the Ukrainians are in fact discussing the abandonment of Krinky and other areas on the eastern bank of the Dnieper River. Now we're continuing to watch what is happening in other locales as well. We are continuing to see an increase in Russian aviation strikes against Ukrainian ground targets. We're continuing to see the same tempo of drone strikes and missile attacks and artillery strikes all along the front line. Now, we have seen within the last few days the Russians launch deep penetration strikes with cruise missiles, both from ground-based systems and air-launched systems against targets deep inside of Ukraine. Now, we haven't seen that in some time, and we believe the Russians have been stockpiling those systems for the upcoming winter months, where it is anticipated that the Russians could start to launch infrastructure strikes against Ukrainian infrastructure. So that's where we set for today. We will continue to monitor and report. Thank you for joining us. More to come very, very soon.
All right, there it is. Your update for today. Yeah. Don't get it twisted though. You will have, right, your World War III. Even though, you can, as you can see, the pundits like to go where the action is portrayed to be. So they kind of slowed down the action over in the Middle East. So now what do? You go right back to where you were, which is Eastern Europe, to do what? To distract from somebody's over there getting their ass whooped. That's really what's going on. Okay. First, they went to the Middle East to get away from the fact that the Ukrainians were getting their ass whooped, and we wasted all of that money. And now what? Now back to Ukraine to show that they're withdrawing? What is wrong with this thing? Revelation 11 and 14. What the hell is wrong? All right, the second woe was past. It's World War I. And behold, the third woe, World War II, cometh quickly. So, be patient and watch. Continue to watch, because with every day that passes, we get closer to all hell breaking loose, right? Be ready for that. And the very end of the world as we know it comes through this military war with nuclear missiles. All right, and then we start over again in the kingdom of heaven. All right, so with that, we hope that the elect edify you, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Shabbat shalom.